Can you talk about your writing process? How you plan out a screenplay? How it evolves?
Yeah, I guess, it always starts with an idea, which is how we get to ideas, who really knows? I mean, they just kind of inspiration strikes. For me, it's like I get really into things like worlds. Maybe I'm like, oh, like I'm really into surfing right now, and I want to do a surfing idea, or I get really obsessed with a thing. And then maybe an idea will emerge from that, or maybe I'll write a surfing movie or whatever the case may be. But once you have the idea and I've probably written it down in a Google Doc somewhere, I'll start to just what I call like word vomit. I'll just free form write paragraphs of what this idea could be. I try to write what effectively would be the Wikipedia entry for the plot summary of a script. That's what I try to aim to get. So I'll just really, we open up with this and then we see, Karen and she's sitting over there and she's doing an interview and then blah, blah, blah. And I'll just stream of conscious it. And then once I kind of build that out to where I can tell a whole story, that's when I'll start to refine more of an outline. And then once we kind of get the outline going, that's usually when I'll just say, all right, I have enough of an outline. I kind of understand where I want to go with this. Now I just have to start page one and actually start typing.
Sure. And then what if we want to add, what if you read through it and you realize, okay, this is too vanilla. We've got to put in some conflict.
I think, yeah, I think...
Karen throws her questions down.
Right. I feel like that's kind of the discovery that happens along the way. I mean, if you're talking about, macro level, your script has a problem because it doesn't have X component. I mean, ideally, you have solved for that early on, or you've figured that out, in your outline process. At least that's what I do for me. Also, too, with a lot of things that I'm writing, I'll always have references of other films that maybe have done it well. Like, if I'm writing a drama, maybe there's other dramas that I'm looking to for inspiration. So if there's a similar thing in my script, I try to figure out, okay, well, what did they do? Like, what was their catalyst, or what was their, B story, or what did they do in their second act? What am I doing in mine? How does that work? Or how do they solve for, some kind of conflict, or how do they create conflict? And then, so ideally it's solved in the outline process for me. But then as you're writing it, you just kind of let it steer where it goes. You have a little bit of that discovery process along the way.
Have you ever written a screenplay without an outline?
I actually haven't done that, which is interesting. I mean, I think I think for some people that could work really well. But I don't think for me, I mean, I don't know. I've never done it. I don't know if that would work for me. I do have a friend who is also a writer who recently just did that for himself for the very first time, where he's written many scripts and he always outlines in full detail. And he actually did that because he was like, I just want to try it. And he ended up getting through it, and he was like, oh yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty, it was an interesting, experiment. And I don't know, it was just more creative in a sense that he felt like very, unchained to like some kind of structure that he had to, create for himself. But with that being said, he was like, yeah, but I probably wouldn't do it again. So yeah, I don't know. But for me, it's probably something that I wouldn't necessarily try.
Okay, interesting. So was this friend very regimented? They're sort of a planner?
Yeah, I think he definitely had a process that he always did, which was handwritten this and then outline this and doing timelines and et cetera. So for him, it was definitely a break from his typical form.
Interesting. Do you think you'll try that?
I mean, maybe one day. Yeah, I won't rule it out, but for right now, probably not.
No, okay, too risky.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's amazing if people can just do it without an outline. But you know, I also think that there's probably a point where you can over outline things as well, because at a certain point it's like you just got to go in and start writing, and no script that I've ever finished has been like tit for tat exactly like the outline. I mean, there's been many times that I've kind of deviated along the way, but the outline just kind of helps give me a structure and rails to go on.
You know, someone left an interesting comment on the topic of over planning, and that may have been a joke, but they just put, "Can you talk about psych evals for your characters?" You know?
Yeah.
So I mean, that might be going down too much
Right.
of a rabbit hole,
Yeah.
and spending too much time. But I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their process, and maybe that's helpful for certain writers to, know what their character's 5th grade birthday was like. But like for me, I don't find that type of outlining and prepping necessary.
Are you outlining the plot yourself or your character's transformation?
I think I'm doing a little bit of both, I guess. Certainly what I need to actually start writing is, for me, just like the plot. But while I'm working on the plot, I mean, I'm really thinking about, okay, well, what is the theme of this movie? Like, what's the arc of these characters that is going to happen? So that's something that, if I have like a Google Doc that I have all my notes in, and I have the Wikipedia plot summary of, the movie that I'm writing, I might have a different page that's dedicated to just like the theme and the arc of the character. And if I don't actually end up writing it out specifically, like what the character's transformation is going to be, I will do at some point the exercise. If I'm like talking to a friend, I'll explain to them what the arc of the character is, just to see if I can actually explain what it is, if that makes sense. Because I feel like if I'm talking about a story, I should be able to explain what this character's journey is. So I should be able to verbalize it. So I'll actually practice, oh yeah, this character started like this, and then throughout the journey they actually discover this, and that's what it's all about, and this is the theme of the film and everything. So yeah, I will, yeah.
How do your outlines look?
I guess they look kind of two ways. One is, it just looks like long pages of words that are just like a blob. And then there's an actual outline that, I might follow kind of like a 3-act structure outline that, there's templates like, what's the book called? Save the Cat, for instance, like that structure right there where you have like, all right, here's the opening image, and then get to page 5 and here's the theme, and then page 12 is the catalyst, and then page 30 is the B story, and whatever that structure is, I will do the work to kind of at least write that out, just for myself to reference. And yeah, those are usually like the two kind of outlines that I'll have.
When do you go back in and really refine the dialogue?
For me, I spend a lot of time, I have a hard time moving on to the next scene if I can't at least, if it's not at least like coherent, right? Or if the dialogue is not at least something that I somewhat enjoy. Like I can definitely move on if it's not perfect, that's okay. But I do, as I'm writing, spend time trying to make the dialogue at least sound somewhat good. And then later on in the the rewrite, when you get to like the second draft or the third draft, you're constantly redoing the dialogue then as well. And then too, if you ever get the chance to like have friends read it, or maybe you'll go so far as to do like a table read with friends, that's another good way to do it, because you'll hear people say it out loud, and you might rewrite a line then if it sounds clunky to you.
Do you ever, when you hear it read out aloud, do you realize, what, I've overwritten this? In real life, we would never explain it this way, or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that there's more succinct ways to say things all the time. And I think for, especially if you're writing, I don't know, a comedy or something, like you always want to be, very succinct with your jokes, etc. So hearing things out loud can be a great way to figure out how to write a line better. Especially if it's not you doing it, because I'll spend a lot of time at my computer reading stuff out loud, But hearing a friend read it or hearing maybe an actor read it, I think is even more helpful.
You talked about leaving Easter eggs sometimes in your music videos.
Oh, yeah.
How do you do that in your scripts, and why? Why is one Easter egg important to you rather than doing none?
I think it's just fun. I mean, I think it's just kind of, whenever you're writing, you're always putting a little bit of yourself on the page in some kind of way. And so with little like Easter eggs or references that you think are funny or cool or kitschy, it's just a way to kind of keep it interesting for yourself and to, infuse the script with your own sort of personal touch, I guess.
If you were to explain an Easter egg to a new writer, can you tell us like a popular movie where there's like a very clever Easter egg that's been left?
Oh, well, I mean, you could watch, any of the Marvel movies if you're a fan of like, the Marvel superhero movies. I mean, those things are riddled with Easter eggs. Like if you're a comic book fan or you read the comic books and you know these characters very well, they're constantly putting in references to other storylines or writers or artists who were the original creators of those superheroes, or they're referencing like other superheroes within the universe. So those movies do a great job, incorporating Easter eggs, and you can tell that the filmmakers and the creative people behind those movies probably have a lot of fun thinking of what we can put in here that people will get excited about.